This conference will now be recorded.
So today we are learning about the cultivation collection of Senna. The other name for the Senna is Indian Senna. The synonym of Indian Senna is Senna leaf, Senna folium, Senecipati, Tinivelli Senna, Acacia Senna. And in following slides, you will come to know what is a Tinivelli, why it is called Tinivelli Senna. Senna leaf is right, and the Tinivelli Senna, since it is grown in India, in Tamil Nadu, Tinivelli, the place name of the place is Tinivelli, so it is named after the a place Tinivelli Senna. Biological source of cyanide consists of dried leaflets of Acacia angustifolia wall belonging to family Leguminosae. Here it consists of dried leaflets. Leaflets means there is a two types of leaves. That is, one is a simple leaf, the other one is compound leaf. Simple leaf is just the one single leaf. If you see the hibiscus, it is just the one single leaf. If you see the curry leaves or the neem leaves, the same leaf is divided into many leaves, which we call it as a compound leaf. So each leaf which is in a compound leaf is called as a leaflets. So it is a leaflets of Acacia angustifolia. Acacia is a genus. This Acacia is a genus and Angustifolia is a species. Wall is a scientist name which belongs to the family Leguminosae. This the source of the drug is leaflets. So here the leaflets are collected. It consists of dried leaflets of Acacia angustifolia wall belonging to family Leguminosae. And in the biological source itself, it contains not less than 2% of anthracene derivatives calculated as calcium senoside B. So calcium senoside B should contains at least 2% in the overall constituents. You can see here the leaf. These are called as a compound leaf. So these leaves, if you see here, the leaves, this is called as a rachis. In between what you get, the leaves are attached to a one part of a plant. This part of a plant is called as a rachis. These are the leaves. So supposed to be a single leaf means then it is a simple leaf. This simple leaf is divided into too many leaves, then it is called as a compound leaf. These compound leaves are attached to a one part of a plant that is called a rachis, rachis. That is called rachis. So here also you can see like a stem part, that is a rachis. So this is called these are called leaflets. Coming to the geographical source, Indian Senna is cultivated and collected throughout India. Its cultivation is mainly done in Tillivelli, Tamil Nadu, Madurai, Ramanathapuram districts of Tamil Nadu. Cultivation is attempted in Kadapa district of Andhra Pradesh, and to some extent it is collected from Kutch in Gujarat state and Rajasthan. So this is a cultivation. It is indigenously, it grows in a tinny valley. That's why the name of the plant or the name of the Indian Senna is also known as tinny valley Senna. Coming to the history of this Senna, Senna was known to physicians from long before and was included in a Unani system of medicine. We have an indigenous system of medicines or traditional system of Ayurveda, Unani, Siddha. In that Unani system of medicine, it was included about 26 species. I said Acacia angustifolia is a botanical name of a plant. Acacia is a genus, species is a angustifolia. Like that, there are 26 species of a genus of Acacia have been reported to contain anthracene derivatives either in the free form or as an glycosides. So either in the free form means as such as an anthracene derivatives or as an anthracene glycosides, they are present in the plants. Out of them, Acacia angustifolia, which we know as Indian Senna or the Tennivelli Senna, and Acacia acutifolia, which is also known as an Alexandrian Senna, are official in the different pharmacopoeias because of their cathartic activity and also the available in larger quantities. There might be 26 species found, but the maximum amount of the plants are Acacia angustifolia or the Acacia acutifolia. You can see this is a Senna plant. So this is how it flowers. So this is, you can see this, we call it as a rachis. The center part we call it as a rachis. This is a leaves. These are the, we call it as a leaflets. This is a dried one, and a shade when you dry it, it remains the green color. Over a period, it turns into the yellowish, green yellowish. And these we call it as a pods. So when it comes to the cultivation, so preparation of a land means over a 25,000 hectares of land is under the cultivation of Senna in India. It produces around 22,500 tons of leaves and 7,500 tons of fruits per annum. So this 25,000 hectares of land will yield so much of leaves and the fruits per year. Coming to the cultivation of Senna, Senna is mainly cultivated in Tinnevelli, Ramanathapuram districts and their adjacent areas in Tamil Nadu state, and it is exported by ships from Tuticorin port. Senna is a small shrub which grows around 1.5 meter, having a compound peripinnate leaves, and each leaf has got three to 5 to 7 pairs of leaf. It might be a 3 or 5 or 7 pairs of leaflets. For the cultivation, generally red loamy or coarse gravelly soil is selected, but it also grows in a alluvial loamy soil. Either it grows in a red loamy, alluvial loamy soil, or in the coarse gravelly soil. Before sowing, the land is plowed twice, harrowed and leveled. So you have to plow the soil twice. It's not that one. So once if you plow it, the probably the underground soil will come up, and again when you plow after some time, after giving a gap of 2 to 3 days, again the upper layer will again go to the lower layer. So then it is leveled. Then first sowing usually is done in the February March, and the second sowing is done in October and November. So after the rains, it is usually sown, and normally the sowing is done by broadcast method. The broadcast method is just taking a hand, the seeds in a hand, and just they will just spread it. It is not that sowing one each one or putting it in a line, like or it you grow the seedling separately, then you put it. No, it is just the like a broadcasting. You just throw in the a field. Then for earlier germination, the seed surface is triturated with sand. So for easy germination, and otherwise also it germinates, and it might take a 7 days or 8. For earlier germination, you just put it in a sand and just triturate it slightly so that the upper layer, the seeds upper layer will get ruptured, so that it is, as soon as you put it in a soil, it will start germinating. About 15 to 25 kg of seeds are required per hectare of land, and seeds are sown thinly, very thinly they are put so that it grows properly. The plants are grown as a semi-irrigated or light irrigated crop, means it doesn't require much of the water. By chance, heavy irrigation, waterlogging, etc. are avoided. It spoils the plant. Plant will not grow properly. It will just die. So it has to be grown in a semi-irrigated or light irrigated crop. Also, the plant cannot survive at very low temperature. That's why it is properly grown in Gujarat and Tamil Nadu because of a high temperature. The plants are allowed to grow for about 5 months till the growth of the flower stalks occurs. Though it is a leguminous plant, leguminous means which absorbs the or fix the nitrogen. They will have a root nodule so that it will fix the nitrogen from the atmosphere. So though it is a leguminous plant which has a root nodules in the roots, still the application of a nitrogenous fertilizer is beneficial because of a lack of root nodules. This is a leguminous plant supposed to have a root nodules, but the thing is, this plant being a leguminous plant, it doesn't have a root nodules to fix the nitrogen. That's why the external application of nitrogen fertilizer will be helpful in the growth of the plant. So these are a few requirements for the cultivation, that the seeds has to be taken, the seeds has to be triturated with the soil, and the broadcasting method means, if you have seen that how they cultivate it, you take the seeds in the hand and they will just throw in the they will just spread it in the across the field. Then it is a semi irrigated or light irrigated, and the water logging has to be avoided. After the rain, usually it is sown either in the February or in the October month. It is usually grown, and it is usually the 5-month crop. So once it starts flowering, they'll start plucking the leaves. So it is in leguminous plants, since it doesn't contain say root nodules. So it has externally nitrogen has to be, so water is over, the fertilizer, nitrogen fertilizer has to be applied, because there is no root nodules, it cannot fix the nitrogen. And temperature, it is a low temperature it cannot bear. It's high temperature is always suitable for the growth and development of the senna. Then yeah, it is to be plowed twice, and then it has to be leveled the soil. So these are the few requirements for the cultivation of the senna. Once you have cultivated, how it is collected. So after 2 to 3 months of sowing, like February you've sown, and March, April. So February, March, April, after the 2 to 3 months, April they will start harvesting the leaves. So the harvesting of our leaves also done in 3 stages. The first plucking is done when the leaflets are thick, full grown and greenish in color. After 1 month, so after the 3 month, you will take off the leaves, and the fourth month, after 1 month of the first plucking, the second plucking is done, and the last plucking is carried out after the 4 to 6 weeks. Means that will be the last plucking. Normally, the plants are uprooted after the third plucking. So probably if you are making in April, one more plucking is probably in the May, and the June you will pluck it, and you will uproot the plants. So, or when you are plucking in the June, March you are plucking, April you are plucking means May, and the June. Probably they will take off they will uproot the plants. Then it is over. The plant cannot be grown again, or you will not get the leaves later. 3 pluckings are the leaves will get over, or it usually will the amount of anthracene glycosides will start decreasing. It is observed that the contents of senosides in leaves is maximum when they are fully grown and goes on decreasing along the maturation of the pods. As the plants start maturing, so the senosides will start getting transferred from our leaves to the pods. So it is no use of collecting after the some time. Once when the pods start maturing, it is no point of collecting the leaves, because there will not be any anthracene glycosides. They will get transferred to the matured pods. Once the matured pods are there in the plant, you should never collect the leaves, because it doesn't contain any anthracene glycosides. So once you have collected the leaves, then it comes the drying. So senna crop, which is taken after the rice crop on the same land in same season, gives the best yields. So like when you have probably the January, if you are sowing the senna, after that when you're June you're uprooting the plants. After uprooting the plants, if you give a gap of 1 month or 2 months, then you grow the rice, a 3 month crop, or June, July, August you grow the rice. Then in October again you can grow the senna. That field will give more yield of senna, or the good quality of a senna. Means that we call it as a crop rotation. So once you grow senna, then you grow the rice, then you grow the senna. That will yield a good quality and the best yields of senna. Senna grown on dry land without proper irrigation gives a poor results. It needs a very less amount of a water, but it doesn't mean that it has to be grown in a dry land without the water. Then it will be there will be a poor yield. After collection, the leaflets are dried under shade or indoor by spreading them in thin layers. So spread them as thin layers under the shade. So natural drying you are doing it. There are two types of drying, natural and artificial. In the natural also it is a shade drying and the sun drying. We are doing it under the indoor shade drying. Drying takes place within the 7 to 10 days and leaf shows yellowish green color. The leaves are tossed to separate the pods. So tossing means if you have taken the this one paddy they will take it in a one container and they'll toss it, so other things whatever is there it will just fly off. So they will toss it so that the pods will just fall off below, and the leaves will, since they are very lightweight, they will just move away. So later it is easy to collect the leaves, or it is easy to separate the pods and the leaves. Then they are packed into the bales under the hydraulic pressure, like within a gunny bag or with hydraulic pressure, because it occupies the leaves occupies the more amount of a space. So it has hydraulically it is pressed and made into a bales. During storage, the drug should be protected from light. That is very important. The storage, it is drying, it is under the shade. After that, the pods and the leaves has to be separated by tossing. Then it is packed in a hydraulic pressure and in as a bales. Then it has to be stored. The storing is very important. It is protected from the light, but generally it does not lose the potency at least up to 5 years. About 1,200 kg of leaves and pods are obtained in 1 hectare of irrigated land and 700 kg of drug from rain-fed land. Rain-fed means irrigated means you will have a continuous supply of a water so that it will grows properly. Rain-fed, you are depending on the rain, depending on the amount of the rain falls. So usually it depends. So that's why it is a 700 kgs obtained. So this is about the cultivation collection. So cultivation is over. The collection, you're collecting it after the 3 months, fourth month and the fifth month. And the third collection, when you're doing it, you're uprooting the plants and you're plucking off. So once the pods start maturing, there is no point in collection of the leaves because the glycosides transfer from the leaves to the pods later. If you want the sinusoid glycosides, pods has to be collected, not the leaves. Then once it is collected, it is dried under the shade, the leaves. Later it is separated by tossing. So the leaves and the pods are separated. Then the leaves are, which is usually yellowish in green color, or packed into a bales by using a hydraulic pressure. Then it has to be preserved or stored in a airtight container protected from the sunlight. So almost for 5 years you can store this. Senna contains coming to the chemical constituents. It contains anthracene glycosides. In the it contains glycosides. In that anthracene glycosides, and in the anthracene glycosides, Senna contains mainly two anthraquinone glycosides, that is Senoside A and the Senoside B, and the Senoside B not less than 2%. So which accounts for its laxative or the purgative activity. Senoside A and B are the stereoisomers of each other. It's only that the 10th position, 10 dash position, the hydrogen presence of a hydrogen moieties. In the A, it is above the plane, and in the B, one of the hydrogen will be in the below the plane. That's why it is called as a stereoisomers, and they are dimeric glycosides with a rain dianthrone as a glycon. If you can see in 10 dash, so 9 and 10 dihydro, or the 1,8 dihydroxy or oxon 3 carboxylic acid. These are the few differences in the structure. In Senoside B, the glycon is mesoform, whereas in a Senoside A, it is in dextrorotatory. So it contains majorly the Senoside and A and B. And Senna is usually studied with the Senoside. The content of a Senoside B is very important. The amount of a calcium Senoside B should be not less than 2%. Coming to uses, it is majorly used as a laxative. Senocide A and B, it accounts for the 40 to 60% of activity. So I think you know what is a laxative, purgative, and cathartic. Laxatives are the drugs which actually ease in the bowels. So the defecation of the fecal matter will be hasten, or it softens the bowel, so it will become easier for the defecation of the stools. It is also reported that, so any glycosides to that matter, glycosides I've explained earlier, glycosides are containing the two parts. One is a glycon part and the aglycon part. The pharmacological activity is due to the aglycon part, whereas the glycon or the sugar part, what we call it as, this part is helpful in the transporting the functional aglycon group to the at the site of action. Also, it protects the oxidation of those glycon moiety with the to the any lesser active moieties. So it also reported that sugar part of these glycosides are transporting a function of further a glycon up to large intestine, and also protective action, so that oxidation of a glycon to other very less active anthraquinones is prevented. So usually the cathetics and purgatives, their action is in the large intestine. So the site of action of these laxatives is since in the large intestines. So till then they are transported by sugar moiety. Senna leaf also contains other anthraquinone glycosides in small amounts. They are Senocide C and D, Rain, Camphorol, Alloimidine, Isoharmitin. It also contains a phytosterol, mucilage, resin, mircyl alcohol, salicylic acid, chrysopenic acid, and calcium oxalate. Majorly, which you have to remember, is the Senocide A and B, and the Senocide C and D. And the Senocide A is a dextrorotatory, Senocide B is in a mesoform, which is very effective as laxative. Laxative is the drug which ascends the bowel, or which defecates the bowels, are the laxatives. And the cathetics are the higher version of a laxatives, which actually takes out the bowels from the large intestines. And purgatives purges out when the operation or any surgery is there. It just comes out. Purgatives are usually given. So here, when you have an habitual constipation, probably you are under some drugs or some problem you have of a GAT and you have an habitual constipation, Senna is the best drug to be used further as a laxative. You can see this. These are the few formulations. Smooth move capsules. These are the few formulations. There are many formulations. So there are capsules. It also present as a powder, organic Senna leaf powder. There is a Senna herbal tea also, it's there. So it claims also it decreases the weight. So however it is, ultimately it is used for the constipation. So when the constipation, difficulty in the defecation of the fecal matter, so when you take the Senna, it hastens or it eases out the fecal matter from the large intestine.